Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of January 7th through the 13th. Today is Saturday, January 13th. So this week was a little bit stressful. If you had watched my diary entry from back in like October, early November, there was something going on with my health insurance through my job, and that finally got taken care of this week. And so I will talk to you more about how that all ended up at the end of the video. But I didn't do a lot of reading, definitely not as much as I had done the week prior. So I only have one thing that I can talk to you about, because the other two things I read were for the Monochrome Manga Club, which is the manga club that I host at the local Barnes & Noble. And so I will be doing a dedicated video for those two selections after our meeting. But I did read them this week because our manga club meeting is next week, Thursday. So the day after you're seeing this. And so, yeah, I only have one book to talk to you about. I have one book that I'm in the middle of for my audiobook. But in case you're interested in reading the volumes that we will be reading for the Monochrome Manga Club and talking about in the next week or so, Volume 1 of Obey Me. This is by Subaru Nito with original work by NTT Solmare. This one's published by 7 Seas Rated Teen. This is about a character that gets kind of transported into this school in the Devildom, and is run by the headmaster Diavolo. But for whatever reason, the character, when they arrive at the school, has turned into a sheep, a very cute sheep, but still a sheep. And so they're trying to figure out how to get their like human body back, but also figure out why they're there, and having to deal with the 7 brothers, who are all like demons. So like you've got Satan, Belphegor, Mammon, Beelzebub, Asmodeus, Leviathan, and a few other characters that are at the school. And so, yes, this is based on a mobile game, and I will tell you more of my thoughts on it when I do my first impressions video. The other one that I just finished this morning was Volume 1 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. This is art by Sleepy C, adapted by Umi from Read Studio, and original story by Sing & Song. And so this is the same author that did World After the Fall, which we also read for the Monochrome Manga Club. This was highly requested by one of my manga club members, and is basically about a guy who is the only reader of this like web novel. And the day that he finishes the web novel, things start to happen in the real world, and it turns out that the things that are happening are things that had happened in the novel, and because he's the only one who's read it, he's the only one that knows what is going to happen, and so he's the only one that can stop the destruction of the world. And so I will tell you more of my thoughts on this one when I do that video as well. This is a full color manhwa that's published by Issei Press, Rated Teen. So I know this one is available on Webtoons, so if you are not able to get your hands on a physical copy, you can read the chapters on Webtoons. And my manga club member said that the contents of this volume go through chapter 9. So definitely an interesting one, I will say, at this point. And if you're interested in reading it and sharing your thoughts with me, I would appreciate that. And so those are the two things that I can't talk to you about this week. But the other thing that I finished was the light novel of 86 by Asato. This one has illustrations by Shirabii and mechanical design by 1-4. This is published by Yen On, rated ages 16 and up, so that is older teen. So this is a story that takes place in a world where there are 85 districts. Very much like the Hunger Games, where the area is cordoned off into districts. They are fighting a war against the Legion, and they are being told by the government that they had figured out a way to have these manless drones fight the war in their stead. So all of the fighting is happening without casualties, but in reality, what's happening is there's an 86th district, and the people that are in this 86th district are the ones piloting these quote-unquote drones. And there are casualties of war, but the general populace is being told that there are not. And so this is a story about war. It's a story about sacrifice. It's a story about racism. And it's a story about genocide. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this as much as I actually did. This story is very interesting in how we follow the two characters that are here on the cover. Our character here is one of the fighters in the 86th Division, and his code name is Undertaker. And then we have our character here whose name is Lena, and she lives in the 1st Division, and she is a handler. And so she basically runs kind of their headquarter operations as they're going out to fight. So she's the one that sees all the incoming fighters on the screen and helps them with their operations during the fight from her little office in District 1. And at the beginning of this series, she gets assigned to Undertaker's squadron, whose codename Spearhead, to be their handler. And so it's a fight between the 86 in this division and how they feel about everybody else in the world and how they're treated, and her being someone who kind of views the 86 differently from the rest of the people that live in the other districts, but also learning that the way that she acts is not necessarily the right way to act either. And so it was really, really interesting to see not only these two characters here on the cover get to know each other, but how the dynamic between Spearhead and her changes throughout the story. And so I really enjoyed this. So much so that I think I told you last week, we watched the first episode of the anime, and we blew through the whole season this week. Like 2 or 3 days, I think we were done. A really, really good anime. Soundtrack is done by Sawano Hiroyuki, which, excellent. And I really enjoyed this experience. I am really looking forward to continuing with this series this year. Thankfully, there are, I think, 6 more. If not, there will be 6 more relatively soon. Volumes of this out in the light novels. I did listen to most of it on audiobook, which is also being published by Yarnie, and I really enjoyed that as well. I believe the narrator for Lena in the audiobook is the narrator of Lena in the anime. Also, funnily enough, if you play Genshin Impact, a couple of the characters in the later portion of the anime are characters from Genshin Impact. So you've got the voice of Zhongli and the voice of Nahida. And so that was kind of really weird, kind of hearing the voices attached to different faces. And I have Zhongli on my lineup for Genshin Impact. I also have Nahida, and I play them pretty regularly, and so does my daughter. And so, yeah, it was kind of really weird because I associate those voices with the Genshin Impact characters, and I had never ever heard them on other characters, I don't think. And so, yeah, just another different level of enjoyment for me with the anime. I asked my daughter if she'd be interested in checking out this manga, and she said no. And I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth because I really enjoyed this in the light novel and in the anime, and I'm kind of curious to see how the manga would be. Obviously, I know the manga would only take up a portion of what is in this light novel, but I'm still kind of curious. So I may go and check it out while I'm at the store for the meeting this week and see if it's something that I also want to invest in. But really, really interested. definitely think that if you are somebody who enjoyed like Robotech back in the day, or if you enjoyed the Hunger Games, there's a little bit of that kind of thing going on in this world. Or if you enjoyed Scarlet Nexus, there is a little bit that is similar to Scarlet Nexus. And so, yeah, definitely enjoyed this, gave this 4 stars. We'll definitely be continuing with this one. And so that's the only thing that I really finished that I can talk to you about this week. Other than that, I did start a new audiobook since I finished 86 Volume 1. And so I went back to continuing with my Ghost Hunter Mystery Series read. I started to reread this series last year and I didn't get through all of them. So I'm continuing this year. This is the 6th installment, Ghost Interrupted by Victoria Laurie. So in this one, we follow our group of ghost hunters, MJ, Gilly, and Heath. This particular story revolves around the death of Heath's uncle and them going to the reservation and figuring out that there's something else going on there. And so, yeah, really enjoying this one so far. I would say this one kind of has a different vibe because there's a lot more family involvement going on with this particular one, where in other installments in this series, you don't really have that like family-ness attached to the cases, at least not from our immediate main character lineup. But yeah, so far so good. I am on chapter 3 and enjoyed what I listened to so far. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this one and hopefully finishing my reread of this series this year. I think there are only 10 installments right now, but I've heard that the author is working on another one, even though it was supposed to end with 10. I've heard that she has been inspired to write another one, so I'm really looking forward to when that comes out as well. And that is also kind of a reason why I started my reread of this series to begin with, because I want to refresh my memory of what happened in this series so that when that one comes out, I don't have to be like, oh, when did that happen? Or I don't understand, or, you know, because it's been a long time since I've reread this series, and it remains one of my favorite series to this day, even though I have only read, I think, through the series once. It's still one of those series that is just like, I really enjoy that one, and I think about it often, and I've been enjoying my rereads so far. And so, yeah, this one definitely has more of the Native American influence to it as well. And so that brings a lot of interest in this also, because it's very different from, I would say, the previous installments too. But yes, looking forward to continuing with that one. And so that's everything that I've read this week. And so let me bring you to a knitting update. I've got my rainbow ring in here from Stephen West that I am knitting in the 31 Days of Haunted Mansion Residence Advent Calendar from Fangirl Fibers. I did finish binding off this sweater last night. So I finished the body. And so this is the front. And here's all of the different colors. And I finished binding off last night while we were watching Yomushi Pedal. It is a 2x2 rib with an I-cord bind off. And so very nice and stretchy, and really, really like that detail. This is where I was the last time I talked to you. And so this is what I've done this week. Not a lot of knitting this week. There were a couple of days where my hands were just too cold to do any knitting. And like I said, this week was a bit stressful for me. And so normally, you know, knitting is kind of like a stress reducing type of activity. But for me, I just like didn't even think to pick up the sweater while I was like kind of stressing on the couch. And so it's very, very stretchy. Very stretchy. The length is really good. And I think this is going to be really, really nice to wear. And so before I start on the sleeves, I am going to cast on my daughter's Pure Fuzz by Skeindeer. I did swatch that last night before I went to sleep. And I'll talk to you about that more when I finish telling you what I'm going to do with the sleeves. So normally, when I do sleeves for a sweater, I do go up one needle size because I find that the sleeve is usually too tight around the top part of my arm. But with how stretchy this fabric is, like both ways it's really stretchy, I don't think I'm going to have a problem with how wide the arm is at the top. Plus, if you look at this, it looks like it's pretty big. And this is all scrunched up too. So I think I'm just going to stay with the same needle size for the sleeves. I'm usually going up one needle size doesn't make a difference too much in the look of the fabric. But being with how stretchy this fabric is, I don't think I'm going to have a problem with the sleeve being too tight on the top part of my arm here. And so, yeah, really looking forward. So the next round that I do on this sleeve is going to be a main color round, and then I will continue with the colors as you see them down the body. And so, yeah, really, really happy with this so far. And I think this is going to be really, really fun to wear. It feels great. It's nice and squishy. And I think this is going to be awesome. So this is going on hiatus for just a little bit, but I will get back to it soon. If not, maybe knit it in conjunction with the Pure Fuzz and just have two sweaters on the go. Because obviously don't want to lag too much on the daughter's sweater because I want her to be able to wear it before the weather turns warmer. But the Pure Fuzz swatched last night with the needle sizes that Skeindeer said that she used in the pattern. Now, this is my first pattern from Skeindeer that I've actually looked through and am planning on knitting. I have purchased others, but I've just never looked through them. But her patterns are slightly different because she doesn't give a recommended needle size. She gives you just like a two-liner saying this is the size of needles that I used instead of saying this is the recommended needle size, and then gives you a gauge. And so I just went with what she went with, and I did my swatch, and my swatch is actually smaller than the recommended gauge. Now that being said, if you remember what I told you last week, the smallest size on this pattern is a 39-inch bust. I think I said it was 40, but it's 39 inches. That gives my daughter about 15 inches of positive ease. So I think I'm okay with my gauge being slightly smaller. The recommended gauge is 15 stitches to 4 inches. I'm getting 16 stitches to 4 inches using a continental knitting style. Now, I think instead of going down one more needle size, because I think that'll make the fabric a little too stiff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the sweater English style. Now, I can knit both ways. I learned English style, or I should say I taught myself English style, and then it wasn't until a few years ago that I started knitting continental style. And I usually like to knit continental style because for me, I knit a lot faster continental style, and it doesn't put as much strain on my hands when I'm knitting continental. But I can get a smaller gauge by knitting English. And I am able to knit without having to look so much at my project when I knit English. I can't do that very well with continental. I tend to miss strings or miss the stitch completely kind of thing, so I have to be more careful when I'm knitting continental. But with English, I can just go and watch anything, not have to look at my knitting so much. And so I think that's what I'm going to do instead of going down needle sizes to get the correct gauge, because the sweater can be smaller. I mean, I've got 15 inches to play with, and no matter how tight I may knit English style, it's not going to be tight enough to decrease 15 inches. And so, yeah, that's my plan. So I'm going to cast on tonight and see how I get through. I did read through the pattern because I noticed that her pattern instructions are pretty different from what I'm used to. And the way that she says things can be a little bit confusing to me. There are a couple of phrases in there or lines of instruction that I'm still not quite sure what she means by that, but I figured I will figure it out as I'm knitting it. And if I have to frog and retry, that's just what I'm going to have to do. So I think this is going to be a good learning opportunity. I think it's going to be a really nice sweater once it's done. I also think it's going to be a little difficult to knit just because the yarn is so dark that even with my brightest lamp, it was very hard to see the stitches. And so I ended up having to count stitches like 10 times to check to see what my gauge was, because I had such a hard time focusing in on the fabric. But it looked really nice. It's a nice color. The stitches looked really nice. So I'm really excited to get this one done, because once I'm done with this sweater for my daughter, I will be able to do the one for myself without having to, think about things I'll already know. And so, yeah, really excited. So my plan is for this. It's a top down. I'm going to go ahead and knit to the sleeve separation. And then I'm going to knit the sleeves. And then with whatever yarn I have left, because I did buy a little bit extra, like one skein, I think, extra, I'm going to use it all in the body. That way I can make the body longer, because this is a traditionally cropped, or it's written to be cropped. I can knit the body as long as I can and not have to worry about saving yarn for the sleeves. And so that's my plan. And so you should be seeing another sweater next week in next week's diary entry. And so that's pretty much everything that I've got for knitting today. I do have just a little bit of fan mail that I got this week. So my lovely friend Vanessa over at the Crafty Planty Life podcast sent me some of her wax melts from her L3 Waxy Wonders advent calendar. And I have already gone through and smelled all of these. And if you watched Vanessa's Vlogmas, when she did the banana one, she did send me a piece of the banana one. It definitely smells like banana runts. I'm actually pretty interested in melting that one relatively soon. So there were a couple in here that I really, really enjoyed. Even though they have cake notes to them, I don't really smell the cake on cold. So yeah, really looking forward to trying these out. I am doing kind of a wax project this year where I'm doing a spinner wheel to focus on one vendor. So I don't know if I want to hold these for when L3 Waxy Wonders comes up, if I just want to go ahead and melt some of these now, because they are kind of festive. I have no problems melting stuff that's festive out of season, but it's cold now, and I think now would be a nice time to try them. So I will probably try some of these over the next couple weeks and see. But yes, thank you very much, Vanessa. I'm so looking forward to trying these. And thanks for sharing your advent calendar with me. I really appreciate it. And then the other thing that I got was from another friend, Precious. And she's from a publishing company, but her name is Precious Bodle. And she had sent me an arc of Amy's Eyes, which I haven't gotten to yet. I did try, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. So I'm definitely wanting to try again. But she had sent me a collection of her poetry. for Christmas. So this is Long Night Moon by Precious Bodle. And inside there was a little envelope here. And inside here there's little like dove. I think that's what they're called, doves. But this is one of those eco doves where if you plant this in your garden, there are wildflower seeds in the paper. And so really, really nice. And then she also sent me some stickers. So I've got, one fell down, some floral stickers and things. Very, very pretty. Gorgeous butterfly in my color. And so, yes, another butterfly. And so it was a very, very nice present to receive. So thank you very much, Precious. I'm very, very thankful that you sent me a copy of your poetry, as well as these stickers and some seeds for me to plant. So very, very thankful again. Thank you so much. And thank you for your kind words. Wishing well my mother. That's everything on the friend mail front, I think, this week. And so life updates now. Health insurance got sorted out. Thankfully, the company is going to compensate me for the full amount of my health insurance. So that's a huge, huge weight off of my shoulders. The only thing I don't like about it is that now, instead of them paying the health insurance directly, they are pulling it from my paycheck and depositing the money for it into my paycheck. So it kind of looks like I'm making more money, but I'm not, because there's the expense. So yeah, at least they're covering it. That's really what I wanted. I wanted them to just cover the whole thing and be done with it. I thought it was going to come with a few strings. Thankfully, it didn't. So that's great. Really, really happy with how that turned out. And other than that, everything was fine. That was kind of the big thing that was happening this week. That really, really took a lot of my thinking time, a lot of stress time, and just waiting for that final word to come down. And of course, it didn't come till Thursday. So yeah. But huge weight off of my shoulders. So thankfully, that's all taken care of. And then we're starting some new team type work at the office. And so we're going to have our first taste of that in the coming week. So actually the day that you're seeing this, we're going to have a meeting with our new team, which should be interesting. It's a little bit concerning, but kind of not, because I don't really know what to expect. So a little bit of changes there at the office. We do have Monday off because it's a holiday. So that's really great. I really, really lucked out with the holidays at this time of the year, because we had a long holiday for Christmas. We had that extra day for New Year's. And now I'm having another extra day for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so, yes, everything worked out. I'm getting an extra day's vacation. I'm having a lot of fun getting back into my knitting projects. We're having a lot of fun getting back into anime watching. I mentioned we were continuing to watch Yowamushi Pedal, so we had started a rewatch of that last year and just kind of halted. And so now we're getting back into it. We're on season 4. We just started season 4, and we haven't yet watched season 5 at all, which was the whole reason why we were doing the rewatch in the first place. So looking forward to getting into all of that new content. And we did watch the first episode of Solo Leveling. Interesting, very interesting. I'm feeling a little weird about watching it in Japanese, being that it's a Korean story, especially with some of the stuff I know that's coming up. As far as politics goes, I would much prefer to watch this in a Korean dub than in Japanese. I think I wouldn't feel so weird if it was in an English dub, but yeah, feeling a little bit weird with the Japanese dub. So we'll see. Maybe they'll come out with a Korean dub. I would much prefer watching it in a Korean dub, but gotta just watch with what we've got right now. I think at the time that we watched it, the only other dub that was available was Hindi. And it actually defaulted to Hindi when we went to go play it, which was kind of weird because I don't know any Hindi. And we've never watched anything in Hindi, so I don't know why it defaulted that way. But yeah, it was interesting, the first episode. Looking forward to continuing to watch the Solo Leveling. We also watched the first episode of Mr. Villain's Day Off. And if you know, we read Mr. Villains as a December selection for the Monochrome Manga Club. And I really enjoyed Mr. Villain's Day Off. If you need something kind of cute and fluffy to watch, definitely check out Mr. Villain's Day Off. I think you'd really enjoy it. And so looking forward to continuing with those two. I do have intentions of watching Demon Prince of Momochi House sometime. I'm not sure if I want to watch it before I read the rest of the manga, or if I just want to go ahead and read the rest of the manga first. I typically have an issue if I'm reading stuff and then watch, because things are usually different in a visual adaptation. So I may allow myself to go ahead and watch it and then go back and read the manga. But I'm definitely interested in watching Demon Prince of Momochi House, as well as A Sign of Affection. I do think the anime of A Sign of Affection is going to work better for me than the manga did, because I get to see the signs in motion. And I think that's a big hang-up for me. I do have these kind of hang-ups with anime and manga adaptations, because like if there's music, I much prefer to watch it because I can hear the music as opposed to reading, because I lose out on that aspect of the story. And with music being a part of the story, I feel like you lose a lot of the story if you can't hear it. And so I much prefer to watch stories that have music in it. And same thing with A Sign of Affection. I think I'm going to prefer to watch it and see all of the hand gestures and all of that in motion, as opposed to how it's being portrayed in the manga. But yeah, there's a lot of good anime that's coming out right now. I mean, we want to also watch the newest season of Blue Exorcist. I think there's another season of Black Butler coming out. There's just a lot right now, and all stuff that I'm interested in. It's been a while since we've watched a lot of anime, and I'm really enjoying getting back into it. And so, yeah, that's pretty much everything that we did this week. So, upcoming week, I have, like I said, the Monochrome Manga Club meeting. Looking forward to chatting with my members about the volumes, especially Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, because my member was so excited to discuss that with us. And so, yes, I think it's going to be a nice, lively, and fun conversation. And I will be continuing to read the rest of the Manga Club selections up until the meeting day. And so I'll definitely be able to talk to you about some of it in next week's diary entry as well. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got to share with you this week. Let me know down in the comments below how your reading's going. Have you read some really great things already this year, or have you read some duds? I think it would be interesting to know if you've started your year off well with your reads, or if it just hasn't gotten off to a good start. I think I've gotten off to a good start. Most of the things I've read so far have been 4 stars, and I think there's been 2 3.5-star reads and 1 3-star read, but I'm still very interested in all of the series that I've read from this year so far. And yeah, I'm still compiling data for like end of the year stuff. My end of the year reads video, end of the year reflections video went up today, the day that I'm filming it. So if you're interested, you can check that out on my channel. I'll try to link it in the cards as well. And yeah, so let me know how your reads have been. Let me know what your goals are for the year, if you've set any. And let me know, like, what kind of trackers are you using for yourself this year? I am using Goodreads for everything. I'm using Storygraph. Well, 2 different Storygraph accounts. So I've got one Storygraph that's just novels, and I've got another Storygraph that's just manga. So if you're interested in following me on either of those accounts, I will link them down in the description box below. I will also be using my own spreadsheet. I think it's a bit of overkill, Probably, but I need certain stats from all the different places that I'm tracking things, so it serves me well, I think, to use all the different ones, even though it's going to be a little bit of work. In any case, let me know what you're using this year to track all of your reading, and let me know how your reads have been. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a moon emoji for the Long Night Moon collection of poetry that I got from my friend Precious, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that would do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.